My name is Svein Ågårnes. Together with Anders Buvik and Lene Våge, we manage a Nordic high-yield bond strategy. The Nordic high-yield market has grown considerably in size over the last 10 years. When we started this high-yield strategy back in 2012, the market was just over 200 billion NOK. Now the market size is around 900 billion. During the same period, the number of issuers have grown from sub 300 up towards 700 today. And we have also seen the market develop from a mainly Norwegian market, where the main sectors used to be oil service and shipping, into a well-diversified market where the sector diversification has increased substantially. Among the main sectors in the market now, you will find real estate, you will find technology, banking, consumer services. Also on the investor side, the Nordic high-yield market has developed in a positive direction over the last 10 years. If you look at the situation when we started this high-yield strategy, the main investors were some mutual funds and also some private family offices. If you look at the situation now, the mutual funds are still an important investor base, but you also have insurance companies, pension funds, and quite a large presence also from global or international hedge funds, which provide liquidity to the marketplace. So in sum, the liquidity in the market has also improved with the market growth and the widening of the investor base. At present, the sector composition of the Nordic high-yield market is actually not too different from a global high-yield market or a high-yield global market index. If you look at, for instance, sectors like oil service and oil production, which used to be quite dominant sectors, the sum of those sectors would now be below 10% in the Nordic high-yield market. There are some particular characteristics to the Nordic high-yield market that differ somewhat from the major US and European high-yield markets. One aspect is that quite a lot of the issuance in the local markets are in floating rate note format, which implies that the duration in the market is quite short. Another important thing to be aware of is that transparency in the market might be a bit lower than in the major global markets, mainly because not all investors have an official credit rating. A third aspect is that the average size of the issuer is somewhat smaller than you would observe in the larger international markets. As a compensation for these factors, you typically receive a somewhat higher credit premium in the Nordic market. At present, the difference would be to the tune of around 200 basis points. In our view, the changes in the market, where the exposure to classical cyclical sectors such as oil services and shipping has been somewhat reduced over the last 5 to 10 years, and also liquidity has improved. We actually think that the spread pickup in the Nordic market is relatively attractive, even taking account for the lower coverage of ratings and the somewhat smaller issue sizes. Sustainability and sustainability-related issues have become increasingly important in the financial markets over the past few years. This is a development that we have seen very clearly also in the Nordic high-yield market. One indication of this, or one aspect of this, is that the issuance of green bonds have increased considerably over the last few years. If you look back to 2014, the outstanding volume of green bonds in the marketplace was around 1 billion NOK. As late as December 2020, this number was 44 billion NOK, and at present the number is up to 67 billion NOK. So the increase has been very strong and also accelerating. Another aspect or green bonds is one aspect of the sustainability wave. But also if you look at the access to sustainability information from companies, there has been a clear improvement in the market over the last few years. Presently, there is almost no new bond issuance where the company does not include sustainability information on their sustainability strategy and so on. When all that is said, there is still some work to be done, and that particularly goes to the company's continuous reporting on sustainability, and particularly in hard data format where you can get access to, for instance, climate gas emissions data and so on. We are working quite hard on influencing companies, both through dialogue with individual companies and also through publishing expectation documents for different sectors where we inform the companies about what kind of information and in what format and how we think they should how we think they should look at sustainability work going forward. Our high yield strategy is very much a bottom-up strategy in the sense that it starts with the individual company or the individual investment case. We will look at the financial information from the company, we will look at the business model and strategy, and when a company comes to the market looking to borrow, we will also typically meet top management of the company to get a further or improved picture of their strategy and business plan. Covenants can typically limit the company's ability to take on additional debt or to pay dividends. Based on both the company-specific information and the bond-specific information, we will try to make up an opinion about the risk or the credit risk of this investment case, and we will try to decide what kind of compensation in the form of credit spread we would need to see to make this an interesting investment. Typically, when the bond comes to the marketplace, we will either see that our target for credit spread is met and we will make an investment, and the volume of the investment will also be decided based on the observed credit spread offered in the marketplace. In our view, an attractive investment would be in a company with both an ability and a willingness to repay debt. To be in that position, we would look for companies with strong balance sheets, strong earnings potential, and also high visibility in earnings or future cash flows. Unfortunately, if a company ticks all those boxes, the credit spread would probably be quite low because the credit quality would be very high. So often when deciding on investments, you will have to make some trade-offs in the high yield market. And in our experience, we would tend to be willing to trade somewhat higher transparency in future cash flow against somewhat weaker balance sheets. As mentioned, our high yield strategy is a bottom-up strategy where we look for attractive investment cases. But to be able to deliver a decent return over time, it's also important to have a tight risk control of the overall portfolio. Typically, that would be a kind of a top-down overlay where we try to control for sector risk and factor risks. We do not want the portfolio to be too exposed to individual sector or factor risks. Examples of that kind of risk could be the oil price, could be property prices, but also other factors. Sometimes when we look at the new investments, we will have room for that investment without increasing individual factor risks too much. In other cases, if you find a new attractive investment, we would have to make room for that investment by finding some existing bond in the portfolio to sell. We integrate sustainability and sustainability-related risks in our portfolio management. This implies that in addition to looking at financial risks, we also look at risks stemming from a company's sustainability strategy or lack thereof. We do this both through gathering data on individual companies, but also through looking at the sustainability-related information we receive from companies and entering into dialogue with companies and company management in bond investor meetings. As a major investor in the Nordic high-yield market, we have quite a lot of influence when it comes to discussing sustainability with companies. And we use this influence in two major ways. One is through dialogue with the companies, where we seek to influence their sustainability policies, and not least to improve when it comes to producing hard data for their sustainability policies and carbon footprint, for instance. Another way we use this influence is through producing expectations documents for various sectors, where we inform companies of what we would like to see from their side when it comes to sustainability strategies and also reporting of sustainability data. We are firmly convinced that the Nordic high-yield market will continue the development that we have seen over the last 10 years. The market is going to continue to grow. The number of issuers is going to continue to grow, and also sector diversification will continue to grow. Our ambition is to produce an attractive Nordic high-yield strategy, and being one of the largest asset managers in the Nordic, and actually the largest high-yield manager in the Nordics. Our natural aim should be to produce the world's best Nordic high-yield strategy.